Have you ever noticed that the kindest women often face the toughest tests? Not because they're weak, but because their strength scares people who don't understand it. Today, we're uncovering why kindness triggers challenges and how it reveals true power. Have you ever noticed that the kindest women often face the toughest tests? Not because they're weak, but because their strength scares people who don't understand it. Today, we're uncovering why kindness triggers challenges and how it reveals true power. Men often test extreme kindness to gauge boundaries, respect, and authenticity. This is not a sign that kindness is a weakness. In fact, it is a measure of how much power a woman truly holds when she is secure in herself. When a woman is genuinely kind, naturally empathetic, and consistently caring, it creates a mirror. It reflects her values, her standards, and her inner confidence. Men, consciously or unconsciously, observe these patterns, looking for a line they can't cross, a standard they must honor, and a truth that can't be manipulated. It is not a test of her love or a challenge to her heart, but a subtle probe into her self-respect and the clarity with which she navigates her own life. A kind woman who bends to please at every moment is easy to influence. But a kind woman who gives with boundaries, who offers care without sacrificing herself, inspires respect because she demonstrates a rare combination, softness wrapped in strength, warmth anchored in principle. From a psychological perspective, testing is a mechanism of assessment. Men are wired to evaluate not only attraction, but also reliability, consistency, and the resilience of the person they engage with. When a woman's kindness is abundant, it creates an environment where he can safely explore her reactions. Will she tolerate disrespect? Will she tolerate disrespect? Will she give endlessly without asserting herself? Will she fold under pressure? Or will she maintain her dignity? These are the subtle questions running through his mind, often without conscious awareness. The testing is not malicious, but it is revealing. It exposes the patterns in the woman's behavior, her ability to self-regulate, and her capacity to hold standards while still being generous and emotionally available. Every small challenge, every seemingly insignificant scenario, is a window into how she manages her own emotional economy, how she invests her energy, where she draws her lines, and how she communicates her worth without aggression. Kindness, when unbound by assertiveness, can be mistaken for naivety. Men, like anyone, are drawn to authenticity but are also wary of imbalance. Extreme kindness without clarity can invite manipulation, complacency, or loss of respect, not because kindness is inherently flawed, but because human interactions require reciprocity and recognition. Testing emerges as a way to see whether a woman's kindness is a reflection of her true self or merely a performance designed to placate others. When a woman maintains her kindness while simultaneously holding firm to her principles, she conveys a message of quiet authority. I am kind, but I am not to be taken for granted. My generosity is intentional. My heart is open, but my soul is protected. This balance is magnetic and powerful, and it is often what triggers testing. The tests are subtle, nuanced, and often situational. A word, a reaction, a small boundary crossed intentionally or unintentionally. Each interaction becomes a microcosm of larger behavioral patterns, allowing him to understand who she is beneath the surface. It is essential to recognize that testing is not a reflection of her inadequacy, nor is it evidence that she is failing. On the contrary, it is a confirmation of her presence, her influence, and the impact of her kindness. When a woman is genuinely kind, she becomes a mirror to the world around her, showing people not only who she is, but also challenging them to rise to her level of integrity and emotional intelligence. This is uncomfortable for some men because they are confronted with a standard they must meet to earn her trust and respect. The discomfort is temporary, and the insight gained is invaluable. A man who truly values her will adjust his behavior to align with her boundaries, demonstrating that her kindness is not a weakness, but a catalyst for mutual growth. The test reveals character on both sides, hers in how she navigates it, and his in how he responds. Kindness is a language, and like any language, it requires fluency and comprehension. When a woman gives without expectation, she communicates abundance, empathy, and emotional maturity. However, without clear boundaries, this language can be misread. Men may interpret unrestricted generosity as limitless access, and testing becomes a natural response to define the contours of that generosity. A woman who allows herself to be tested without challenge may find her kindness exploited, while a woman who responds with awareness, self-respect, and calm assertion demonstrates an entirely different level of emotional sophistication. This is where power resides, not in aggression, not in manipulation, but in the seamless integration of warmth and principle, of giving and guarding, of compassion and self-respect. Her kindness becomes a framework within which respect is required, and authenticity becomes the currency of interaction. It is also critical to note that these tests are often unconscious. Many men do not sit and plot a challenge deliberately. Rather, they observe, they feel, and they respond instinctively to the energy they encounter. Kindness triggers evaluation because it reflects something deeper than surface-level attraction. It reflects character, consistency, and emotional intelligence. The tests are subtle, a boundary slightly pushed, a contradiction gently presented, a scenario designed to see whether she will react from insecurity or clarity. In these moments, the kind woman who knows her worth, who has internalized her standards, responds with measured grace, signaling strength without losing softness, authority without aggression, and confidence without arrogance. Her kindness becomes not a liability, but a lens through which her integrity is amplified and her influence is strengthened. Every act of testing, when understood correctly, can be reframed as an opportunity for awareness and empowerment. Instead of feeling defensive or diminished, the kind woman sees it as a reflection of the dynamic between human behaviors, a chance to reinforce her boundaries, and a stage to model resilience. She understands that kindness is not about endless acquiescence, but about selective generosity, that giving is most impactful when it is intentional, and that influence grows when compassion is paired with clarity. This perspective transforms tests from threats into signposts, guiding her toward deeper self-awareness, stronger communication, and a more refined understanding of relational dynamics. She recognizes patterns, identifies the signals, and calibrates her responses, all while maintaining the essence of her kindness and the integrity of her character. Ultimately, men test kindness because they sense the potential for influence, the presence of boundaries, and the measure of authenticity. It is not a reflection of weakness, but a natural process of human interaction, a mechanism through which both parties discover alignment, respect, and mutual understanding. A kind woman who embraces this reality, who navigates tests with calm discernment, reinforces her presence, commands respect, and amplifies the magnetic power inherent in genuine empathy. The test becomes less about proving herself and more about understanding the environment in which her kindness operates, the people she engages with, and the energy she allows into her life. Her kindness, once challenged, is not diminished. It is clarified, refined, and elevated to a force that commands attention, earns respect, and sets a standard that is impossible to ignore. Understanding these tests empowers women to maintain strength without losing their natural compassion. When a woman recognizes that testing is a natural part of human interaction, she gains clarity and control over her emotional responses. Awareness is the first step toward empowerment. It allows her to see the difference between a man probing out of insecurity or curiosity and one whose intentions may not align with her values. By identifying the test rather than reacting impulsively, she can respond with intention rather than emotion. This distinction is critical because it transforms potentially stressful encounters into opportunities for demonstrating self-respect, emotional intelligence, and resilience. Empowerment does not mean shutting down kindness or becoming guarded. It means navigating challenges with awareness, knowing where to invest energy, and choosing how to respond in a way that preserves dignity while maintaining authentic warmth. Tests often take the form of small, subtle challenges, a question asked in a provocative tone, a boundary nudged, or an action that seems to probe patience. These moments can trigger uncertainty, frustration, or doubt if a woman is not aware of the underlying dynamics. However, when she understands that these are not attacks but assessments, she can shift her perspective. Instead of taking it personally, she views it as insight into the other person's character and into the health of the interaction. This mindset shift is powerful because it allows her to remain centered, calm, and confident. The ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally is what separates women who are truly empowered from those who feel constantly tested and drained. By maintaining inner stability, she sets a standard that communicates strength without aggression and confidence without arrogance. Recognizing the purpose behind these tests also reinforces the importance of boundaries. Kindness without boundaries can invite exploitation, miscommunication, or disrespect. When a woman understands that men test to see where limits lie, she can establish and uphold those limits with clarity and consistency. Boundaries are not walls. They are signals of self-respect and integrity. They show others that while she is generous, compassionate, and giving, she also honors her own needs, values, and well-being. Empowered women understand that setting limits does not diminish their kindness but actually amplifies it, because it ensures that their generosity is intentional and respected rather than taken for granted. In this way, boundaries and kindness work together as complementary forces, creating a dynamic that fosters respect, trust, and authentic connection. Another key aspect of empowerment is emotional regulation. Testing often seeks to provoke a reaction to see if insecurity, anger, or anxiety can be triggered. A woman who has cultivated awareness can observe the test without letting it disrupt her emotional equilibrium. She can respond with measured clarity, redirecting the interaction toward mutual understanding rather than conflict. This requires not suppressing emotions, but mastering them, acknowledging feelings internally, while choosing external responses that reinforce her dignity and self-respect. Emotional regulation transforms potentially draining encounters into exercises in patience, discernment, and confidence. It allows her to remain compassionate without being vulnerable to manipulation, kind without being seen as weak, and responsive without being reactive. Empowerment also involves understanding the deeper psychology behind these tests. Men often test kindness because it reveals their own insecurities, their need for validation, and their understanding of respect. When a woman perceives this, she no longer interprets the test as a reflection of her inadequacy, but as a reflection of relational dynamics and human behavior. This awareness fosters empathy without compromise, insight without concession, and authority without aggression. It positions her as someone who interacts from a place of knowledge, not defensiveness, and who engages with integrity and authenticity at every level. She recognizes that the test is a mirror for both parties, revealing patterns, values, and intentions that are essential to building meaningful, respectful connections. A woman empowered by understanding these tests also gains the ability to choose her engagements wisely. Not every interaction deserves her energy, attention, or kindness. By observing patterns, she can identify who is respectful and aligned with her values and who is likely to disregard or exploit her generosity. This discernment is a form of empowerment because it prioritizes self-respect and protects emotional resources. Choosing when and where to invest kindness ensures that it remains effective, authentic, and impactful rather than diluted or wasted. Empowered women understand that their energy is valuable, and they allocate it in ways that reinforce their strength, nurture meaningful relationships, and promote personal growth. Furthermore, empowerment allows a woman to model behavior that inspires respect in others. When kindness is paired with self-awareness, boundaries, and emotional regulation, it communicates a powerful message: generosity is not weakness, and compassion does not equate to submission. This modeling has a ripple effect, encouraging men and others around her to elevate their behavior, communicate with integrity, and respect her presence. The tests that might have previously caused tension or doubt become opportunities to demonstrate consistency, patience, and confidence. By navigating these moments skillfully, she sets a standard for interactions that is both admirable and magnetic, fostering a dynamic where mutual respect and understanding become the norm rather than the exception. Finally, understanding tests empowers women to reclaim their narrative. Instead of being reactive participants in the dynamics of evaluation, they become conscious architects of their interactions. They choose when to give, when to assert boundaries, and how to respond to challenges. This conscious engagement reinforces self-confidence and reinforces a sense of agency in every interaction. Empowerment, therefore, is not about changing the other person or controlling outcomes. It is about mastering oneself, maintaining clarity, and approaching relationships with both strength and grace. By seeing tests as opportunities rather than threats, women can navigate social dynamics with intention, integrity, and unwavering kindness. In this way, every test becomes a lesson, every challenge an opportunity for growth, and every interaction a stage for demonstrating both heart and strength. Understanding why men test kindness is not about creating tension or suspicion, but about cultivating wisdom, resilience, and discernment. It equips women to navigate relationships with clarity and confidence, ensuring that their natural compassion is never compromised, their kindness is always intentional, and their strength is unmistakable. Empowered women respond to testing with calm assurance, setting the tone, maintaining standards, and demonstrating that true kindness is not naive but potent, not passive but powerful, and not easily shaken because it is rooted in awareness, integrity, and self-respect.